Flexion. Listen, when someone disrespects you, they're not just testing your patience. They're testing your strength. They want to see what you'll tolerate. Flexion. How much you'll take before you break. And that's when you have a choice not to fight for ego, but to act with strategy. The true way to kill disrespect isn't through anger or noise. Reflection. It's through power. Quiet, deliberate, Machiavellian power. You don't fight disrespect with emotion. You handle it with precision. Because when you let emotion lead, you lose control. Flexion. But when you move with discipline, with silence, with calculation, you win before the other person even knows they lost. Power doesn't shout. It doesn't need to. It observes, it plans, reflection, and it strikes when the moment is right. That's how kings move. That's how leaders command respect without ever demanding it. Reflection. You don't teach people how to treat you with words. You show them with consequences. Understand something. Disrespect survives only where weakness is tolerated. Reflection. The moment you start valuing yourself enough to set boundaries, to walk away, to detach, disrespect dies. Because those who feed on your reaction starve in your absence. Flexion. This world runs on perception. Control how you're perceived. Carry yourself with quiet confidence. Look them in the eyes and say nothing. That's silence. That's power. Reflection. The kind that Machiavelli wrote about. The kind that makes others rethink how they deal with you. So remember, never let disrespect lie rent-free in your mind. Evict it through strength, reflection, through calm, through strategy. Don't respond, reposition. Don't react, rebuild. Don't fight for validation. Become untouchable. That's how you kill disrespect. Flexion. The first step to killing disrespect is mastering your emotions. You see, most people lose the battle not because they're weak, but because they let their emotions run the show. Reflection. The moment someone disrespects them, they react instantly, loudly, emotionally. That's exactly what the other person wanted. They wanted to see you lose your balance, lose your control. Reflection. Lose your peace. Because when you react out of anger, you hand them power. You give them your energy, your focus, your attention. And once they have that, they've already won. Reflection. But when you stay calm, when you look at them with that unshaken stillness, something shifts. They realize they can't move you. They can't manipulate your mood or your mindset. Reflection. That's when the power returns to your hands. Control over emotion doesn't mean you feel nothing. It means you choose what deserves your reaction. Reflection. You understand that not everything requires your energy. You stop letting small people drag you into small conflicts. Flexion. You stop explaining yourself to those who are committed to misunderstanding you. Because the truth is, when you rise above reaction, you rise above disrespect. Reflection. People can't fight what doesn't respond. They can't win against silence backed by strength. And that silence, that calmness, it burns deeper than any insult you could ever throw back. Flexion. Think about it. When someone tries to provoke you, they're feeding off the chaos they create. They want to see your anger, your frustration, your desperation to be respected. Reflection. But when you stand still, unbothered, looking through their noise as if it never existed, they crumble. They realize their words mean nothing. Their disrespect loses its value. Because your peace, reflection, your composure is something they can't touch. It's the armor that shields your power. Mastering your emotions doesn't make you passive. It makes you strategic. Reflection. It means you understand that emotional control is the foundation of dominance. You decide when to speak, when to move, and when to let silence do the work. Reflection. You don't let disrespect dictate your behavior. You dictate the energy in the room. When you stop reacting and start observing, you gain insight. You begin to see people for what they are. Reflection. Not what they pretend to be. You see their fear behind their arrogance, their insecurity behind their disrespect. And once you see that reflection, you'll never be offended again, because you'll realize disrespect is never about you. It's a reflection of their weakness, not your worth. Reflection. That's the psychology of control. When you hold your emotion, you hold your power. When you stay calm under pressure, people notice. They may not admit it, but they respect it. Reflection. Because true strength isn't about how loud you can get. It's about how steady you can remain when the world tries to shake you. People treat you based on how you carry yourself. Reflection. The world reads you before it listens to you. Every movement, every word, every silence, it sends a message about who you are and what you will tolerate. That's why perception is power. Reflection. You can't demand respect. You have to project it. When you walk into a room, people should feel your energy before you even speak. Not arrogance, not aggression, but composure, certainty, reflection, presence. The kind of presence that tells people this is someone who knows their value. Because when you truly know your worth, it shows. You don't have to say a word. Reflection. Perception begins with self-respect. If you see yourself as small, others will treat you as such. If you walk like you're unsure, the world will test you. Reflection. But when you carry yourself with quiet confidence, when your body language, tone, and energy say you are not to be played with, that's when people think twice before crossing you. Reflection. Machiavelli understood this, that people respond to what they perceive, not what is real. It doesn't matter how strong you are on the inside if you don't project that strength outward. Flexion. The game of respect is visual, emotional, and psychological. People see how you react under pressure, how you handle disrespect, how you stand in silence. Reflection. Every gesture teaches them how to treat you. So you must craft your perception with intention. Speak less, observe more. Look people in the eyes when you talk. Never rush your words. Reflection. Never justify your worth. Move with the kind of calm that makes others uneasy because they can't read what's behind it. When you hold your composure, you force others to adjust to your rhythm. Reflection. They slow down. They watch their tone. They become careful with their words. That's the influence of perception. It bends behavior without confrontation. Reflection. You can tell when someone carries power. They don't need to announce it. They don't beg for it. It's in the way they walk, the way they listen. Flexion. The way they handle disrespect without flinching. That's not luck. That's cultivated presence. You have to train yourself to look unfazed even when chaos surrounds you. Reflection. You have to learn to sit still when others are trying to provoke you, because the one who stays calm controls the room. Reflection. The one who keeps his tone steady commands attention without raising his voice. And the one who values himself enough not to over-explain earns the kind of respect words can't demand. Flexion. The truth is, perception isn't about faking confidence. It's about aligning how you carry yourself with how much you truly believe in your worth. If you want people to respect you, reflection, show them that you respect yourself first. Don't argue about your value, embody it. The world will mirror back the image you project, so project strength, composure, and certainty. Reflection. When you move with self-assurance, people sense it, and that perception becomes your shield, your invisible armor that kills disrespect before it ever reaches you. Flexion. Silence is not weakness. It's a weapon sharper than any words you could ever speak. Most people fear silence because they associate it with powerlessness. But in truth, reflection, silence is where power hides. When someone disrespects you, their goal is simple: to pull a reaction from you. They want noise, emotion, conflict, something they can feed on. Reflection. But when you stay silent, when you don't respond to their provocation, you starve them. You deny them the satisfaction of seeing you lose control. You take away their stage, their energy, flexion, their audience. And in that quiet, they begin to crumble because silence exposes what noise hides: insecurity, guilt, and weakness. Reflection. Strategic silence isn't about ignoring everything around you. It's about understanding timing. You learn when to speak and when to let the silence speak for you. Reflection, because silence is heavy. It makes people question what you're thinking, what you're planning, what you'll do next. It unsettles those who rely on reaction to feel relevant. Reflection, when you choose silence, you make people uncomfortable. And in that discomfort, they begin to reveal themselves. They start explaining, overcompensating. Reflection, trying to fill the space that your stillness created. That's when you see their true motives, their real character. Silence gives you vision, and vision gives you advantage. Reflection. In a world addicted to constant noise, the one who can stay silent commands attention. Everyone talks, few listen. Everyone reacts, few calculate. Your silence separates you from the crowd. Reflection. It shows discipline, restraint, and confidence. It shows that you are not desperate to be heard because your presence already speaks. Flexion. That's what makes silence powerful. It turns you into a mystery. People can argue with your words, but they can't argue with your stillness. They can't fight what doesn't respond. Reflection. There's also wisdom in silence. When you speak less, you listen more, and listening gives you information. It allows you to understand people deeper than they understand themselves. Reflection. You start to see patterns in their words, cracks in their confidence, and contradictions in their behavior. While they're trying to prove something, you're collecting insight. Reflection. And insight is the foundation of control. The quieter you become, the more you know. The more you know, the more precise your next move becomes. Flexion. That's the essence of psychological warfare. To let others waste energy showing their hand while you sit, calm, unreadable, watching every detail. Reflection. Silence also teaches people that access to your energy must be earned. Not everyone deserves your response. Not every insult deserves acknowledgement. Reflection. When you remain silent in the face of disrespect, you teach others that your attention is valuable, too valuable to be spent on meaningless noise. And as time goes on, reflection, people begin to respect that silence. They realize that your quiet isn't weakness. It's strength under control. They stop testing you because they know you can't be provoked. Reflection. And a person who can't be provoked can't be controlled. That's the real power of silence. It doesn't just protect your peace. It kills disrespect before it even begins. Flexion, disrespect only survives where boundaries do not exist. The moment you start setting firm, unshakable boundaries, everything changes. Reflection, people begin to treat you differently because you've shown them where the line is and made it clear that crossing it has consequences. Boundaries are not walls that block connection. Flexion, they're fences that protect value. Without them, people walk all over you, not because they're evil, but because you've never taught them how to treat you. Reflection, human nature tests limits. It always does. So if you don't define your limits, the world will define them for you, and that definition will never be in your favor. Reflection, setting boundaries means you've learned the art of self-respect. You're no longer available for every argument, every favor, every demand on your energy. Reflection, you've realized that your peace has a price and your time has value. People who truly respect you will understand your boundaries. Those who don't were only using you for access. Reflection, not connection. When you say no, you're not being rude, you're being wise. You're choosing to protect what matters most, your mind, your focus, and your dignity. Reflection. And once you make that choice consistently, disrespect begins to die because it can no longer find space to breathe in your life. Reflection. Most people allow disrespect because they're afraid of losing people, afraid of being disliked, judged, or abandoned. But you have to understand that the price of peace is often separation. Flexion. You can't please everyone and still respect yourself. The more you try to keep everyone happy, the less people value your presence. When you stop being available to those who drain you, reflection, you'll start to attract those who value you. That's the power of boundaries. They filter out the noise and leave only what's real. Flexion. Boundaries aren't something you announce, they're something you enforce. You don't need to give long explanations or apologies when someone crosses the line. Reflection, you simply change your behavior, you withdraw your energy, you walk away without discussion. That quiet action says more than any speech ever could. Flexion, people remember the moment you stopped engaging, the moment your tone changed, the moment you no longer entertained their disrespect. Reflection, that's when they realize they've lost access to something valuable. Boundaries teach people the language of respect. Every time you allow someone to get away with disrespect, flexion, you're teaching them that it's acceptable. Every time you let a small insult slide, you give permission for a bigger one. Reflection. But when you start drawing the line, when you correct someone calmly, when you distance yourself without emotion, when you stop explaining why you deserve respect, people learn. Reflection. They might not like it at first, but they'll adjust because people always adapt to what they can't control. When you build boundaries, you're not being defensive, you're being deliberate. Reflection, you're saying, I know my worth and I refuse to lower it for comfort. You stop living to prove yourself and start living to protect yourself. Flexion, that shift transforms how others see you, no longer as someone they can test, but as someone they must respect. And that's when disrespect begins to fade. Flexion, because your energy no longer tolerates it. Boundaries aren't just lines you draw in the sand, they're standards that announce to the world I know who I am. Reflection, and I know what I deserve. Detachment is one of the highest forms of strength because when you stop needing validation from others, you become free. You stop chasing explanations. Reflection. You stop fighting for closure and you stop wasting energy trying to change what people think of you. Disrespect thrives on your attachment, your emotional investment, flexion, your desire to be understood, your fear of being misunderstood. The moment you detach, you take away the power of those who try to control you through reaction. Flexion. You no longer play their game because you've learned the truth. Not every battle deserves your sword, and not every opinion deserves your attention. Detachment doesn't mean indifference. Flexion, it means clarity. You see things as they are, not as you wish them to be. You recognize who respects you and who only pretends to. Flexion, you start observing people's actions instead of believing their words. When you detach emotionally, you stop trying to fix people who disrespect you. Reflection, you stop negotiating your value with those who never intended to honor it. That calm distance gives you power because you can now move from logic, not emotion. Flexion, you can decide what stays and what goes without guilt. You can say, this doesn't serve me, and walk away without hesitation. That is control, not over others, but over yourself. Flexion, most people struggle with detachment because they confuse it with coldness. But detachment is not about being heartless. It's about being self-protective. Flexion, you've simply reached a level where peace matters more than pleasing anyone. When someone disrespects you, you don't argue anymore. You detach. You stop explaining yourself. Reflection, you stop giving access to your mind and energy. Because the moment you walk away from a disrespectful situation without reaction, you send a powerful message. Flexion, You can't reach me anymore. That silence, that distance, that stillness, it's what destroys disrespect faster than any confrontation ever could. Reflection. Detachment also allows you to see manipulation for what it is. When you're emotionally invested, your judgment is clouded. You excuse behavior that doesn't deserve forgiveness. Flexion. You give second chances to people who knew exactly what they were doing the first time. But when you detach, you begin to see the pattern. Flexion. You realize that some people only come close to drain your confidence, to test your patience, to feed off your reaction. Once you stop giving them that reaction, they fade away. Reflection. Because they no longer get what they came for, your energy. There's peace in walking away with your dignity intact. You don't have to prove your strength by arguing or shouting. Reflection. You prove it by choosing silence over chaos, distance over drama, and composure over conflict. When you detach, you regain control of your emotions, your focus, and your self-worth. You stop living as a reaction to other people's behavior. You become steady, grounded, untouchable. And in that state, disrespect can't survive because it has nothing to hold on to. Reflection. It's like trying to fight the wind. You can swing all you want, but the wind doesn't swing back. Detachment makes you the wind, always moving, always calm, and impossible to control. True strength isn't proven through rage or loud reactions. It's revealed through calm and deliberate action. When you deliver consequences without emotion, flexion, you send a message that echoes louder than any argument could. You're no longer reacting out of hurt. You're responding out of principle. Reflection. That's what separates the powerful from the impulsive. Anyone can shout, threaten, or explode in anger. That's easy. But it takes composure, discipline, reflection, and inner control to handle disrespect with silence and precision. When someone disrespects you, they expect chaos. They expect to see you break character. But when you remain still, reflection, unaffected, and respond strategically, you shift the balance of power completely in your favor. The secret lies in emotional neutrality. You must learn to act, not react. When you're emotional, reflection, you act from weakness. When you're calm, you act from wisdom. Delivering consequences without emotion means you no longer allow disrespect to pull you into its drama. Reflection. You stop explaining why something was wrong, and instead you show that it was wrong through your actions. You change your availability. You limit your communication. You withdraw your presence. Reflection, and that quiet withdrawal hits harder than any angry outburst ever could. Flexion. Because people remember silence. They remember the space you create when you're gone more than the noise you make when you stay. People often underestimate calmness, flexion, but calmness is lethal when it comes from someone who knows their value. The one who stays composed in the face of disrespect holds psychological dominance. Flexion. You're not seeking revenge. You're restoring balance. You're showing that your boundaries are not open for negotiation. You don't punish through cruelty. You punish through absence, reflection, through control, through unwavering self-respect. When you act this way, even those who tried to belittle you start to feel the weight of what they've lost. Flexion, because the energy of a person who moves with calm authority is unforgettable, and losing access to it is a consequence in itself. Reflection, handling disrespect without emotion, also trains you to move intelligently in all areas of life. You stop being easily provoked. You become difficult to read, hard to manipulate. Reflection, and impossible to intimidate. Your calmness becomes a mirror that exposes others. When they yell, you stay quiet. When they insult, you observe. When they try to provoke you, reflection, your lack of reaction forces them to face their own lack of control. That's the power of emotional mastery. It turns the game around. Suddenly, they're the ones frustrated, not you. Flexion. They're the ones losing balance while you stand steady. Delivering consequences with calm detachment shows that you've evolved beyond petty confrontation. It's not about revenge, flexion. It's about teaching through action. You don't need to announce your departure or explain your silence. You just move differently. You remove your energy from spaces that no longer deserve it. Reflection. You let your absence speak, your silence echo, and your consistency prove that you cannot be disrespected without a shift following it. That's how real power operates. Quiet, firm, reflection, and emotionally untouchable. Because the one who doesn't let emotions dictate action becomes unstoppable. You no longer fight for respect. You command it through control, through calmness, reflection, and through consequences that are felt, not spoken. Respect isn't something you demand. It's something you command through the way you move, the way you think, reflection, the way you carry yourself when the world tests you. Disrespect dies the moment you stop feeding it with reaction and start killing it with control. Every time you choose silence over argument, reflection, boundaries over chaos, detachment over desperation, you rise higher. You separate yourself from the noise and step into the realm of power. The kind that doesn't need to be seen to be felt. Flexion. You see, the goal isn't to make people fear you. It's to make them understand that your peace, your time, your energy are sacred. That you won't trade them for approval, validation, flexion, or attention. Because when you reach that level, when you master your emotions, craft your perception, use silence as a weapon, build firm boundaries, detach from what disrespects you, reflection, and deliver consequences without emotion, you become untouchable. You stop being someone who demands respect and become someone who defines it. So walk with that calm authority. Speak less, reflection, and move with intention, and let your presence do the talking. Never fight for what you can command through composure. Because in the end, reflection, killing disrespect isn't about revenge. It's about evolution. It's about becoming so grounded, so self-aware, so powerful within that nothing outside of you can shake you again.